Hey guys, as you can probably tell from the title below, I am doing my January wrap-up, and I think most of you guys will know what this is, and that is just where I talk about all the books that I have read in this month. I am going to be doing something a little differently this year when it comes to my wrap-ups, so yeah, let us just get on with this, and I will explain what that new thing is when I get to it. So as I go along, there will be links below to all of the reviews I've done. I will tell you if there's a review for the specific book. So the first book that I read this month is Her View for Symmetry by Audrey Niffenegger. And this book was about twins Valerie and Julia Poole, who move into their deceased aunt's apartment whom they never met before. There's these two closets that she has where the parents can go into that apartment and they have to stay there for at least a year before they sell it. So they move into the apartment and strange things start to happen. So I really enjoyed this book a whole lot. I love Audrey Niffenegger's writing. There was no doubt in my mind that I was going to enjoy that part. I did have a little issues here and there with the story, and not really the story but just certain characters and the way things happened. I just had a little bit of issues there, but overall really enjoyable. And if you want to see my full thoughts on it, link below, and I gave it 4 stars. The next book that I read this month was a library book, so there's no book for you to see, but it is Bridget Jones' Diary by Helen Fielding, and I gave this one 1 stars. I do not know how to explain this book. It was really just not good at all. Bridget was so annoying. I really can't stand her at all. And then there's all these extremes with feminism. Like, you have the extreme feminist Shaz, who was just like, gotta hate on the men are women haters and they're just, they're always gonna oppress us, blah 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 blah. And then you have the other side of it where her mom was just like, you can only be happy if you have a man and if you're married to them and blah blah blah. No, there's really no need for that. And I felt like she was just trying to blare out some kind of message, and I really didn't like it. And it was such a disgrace to Pride and Prejudice, because I've heard over and over again that this was supposed to be like a throwback to Pride and Prejudice, but really, no. It was shameful to even say that this was a throwback to Pride and Prejudice. So again, I gave it just 1 star. Then I read Elusive, and I'm not really sure what the author's name is anymore, so the name will be around here somewhere. And this was an ebook, so again, nothing to hold up for you. And this book was about a woman whose husband disappears. Actually, he's her ex-husband, and they live in the same house. He disappears, and his business partner is murdered. And he's assumed to be the person who did it, because evidence leads to it, and they think that she is an accomplice to it. So she runs off and decides that she's going to find the answers for herself. This is a pretty predictable story in the sense that you already kind of know who's the good bad guy type guy, and who's the good and who's the bad and all this stuff. And all that kind of like predictable in that sense, but this is like a guilty pleasure because I love these kind of stories. And if you're a fan of like Castle or I don't know, any of those kind of shows, you probably like this. It's just so much fun once you get into the action part, and it's just, yeah, I can't get enough. And it was very episodic in the way it came off. So I'm wondering if the author is a TV show writer or a writer of episodes of some sort. I don't know. But anyways, I give this 4 stars. Then I read the first 5 books in the Anne of Green Gables series. I did not read these all at once. I started off with Anne of Green Gables, the first book, of course. This is when Anne is adopted by Marilla and Matthew. An accidental type thing because they were wanting a boy, but she shows up and they decide that they were going to keep her. And it's just her adventures in Albany with Diana and Gilbert and all that. So I did read books between some of these books. So after I read the first book, I continued on with The Darkest Minds by Alexandra Bracken. This is about 16-year-old Ruby, who is in this camp for people with powers that, they're scared of them, so they put them in these camps. And she escapes, and she's trying to find a safe haven that was supposed to exist for them, and all this crazy stuff ensues. I really enjoyed this book. I have a review out for this one, linked below, and I gave this book 4 stars. I did borrow the second book from the library, but I decided that I didn't really want to read it until the third book came out and I was able to borrow that from the library because I want to go straight through. So, I have major issues, people. Then I went back to the Anna Gables series and I read the second book, Anne of Avonlea, which is when she teaches school because she cannot afford to go to Redmond like she wants. And Anne of the Island, where she actually goes to Redmond and Gilbert speaks. And I continued on with Anne of Windy Poplar, it's the 4th book, and this is where she is a high school principal / teacher at Summerside High, and she deals with the Pringles. I read Fangirl, which is a library book, and I returned it, so yeah, I gave this book 4 stars. I really liked it. Like, Kath was so scarily near to the kind of person I am. Like, there were times where she was speaking about something and I was like, oh my gosh, that sounds just like me. The only thing is that this book is majorly about fan fiction, and I am not into fan fiction all that much. I don't have nothing against people who write fan fiction or anything like that. I just haven't really been interested in it. And here's the thing, I don't think I was supposed to agree with her teacher, but I did. I don't think it's really appropriate to give a teacher fan fiction as your assignment. It's not really original. I mean, the story might be original, but the characters and the environment's not original. And when a teacher says something original, you writing fan fiction, giving it to her is not really original. So I agreed with the teacher in that, and I was just not really sure if I was supposed to, but I did. Overall, I really enjoyed this story. Rainbow Rowell seriously writes very realistically, and I really appreciated it. I know some people said that there was like all these subplots and stuff and they just felt like it was too much. I really didn't feel like that. There was a lot, but there was like this one that tied it all together, which was the romance that Cass was, you know, developing in the book. And a lot of this, everything that she did was her developing as a college student, you know. She was learning and she was trying to deal with all these pressures, and all these things that happened were all a part of that experience, and I thought it was very realistic and appropriate, and everything was just all there, and I thought that was great. So, like I said, really enjoyed it. I do have a review for this, but it's written form. I will put a link to that also down there. And the last book of this month is Anne's House of Dreams, and I don't know if I told you this, but this is all by Emma Montgomery. This is the 5th book when she gets married and she moves to Four Winds Harbor, and it's just her adventures with her husband there. There's 3 more books in this series, but as a whole, I give it 5 stars. All the books. So you can imagine how much I love them. In total, I was able to read 10 books. Insane, right? I don't think I've ever read so many books ever. So I'm pretty satisfied with myself when it comes to this month. But anyways, let's get to the part where I tell you what I'm going to be doing that's new. The new thing I'm going to be doing is that each month I will tell you what book was my most liked and the least liked. Let's start with the least liked. And I think it's pretty obvious that the one book that I didn't like at all, is Bridget Jones' Diary by Helen Fielding. Like I said, I gave it 1 star. Everything was horrible. I make a note. When it comes to my most favorite, like Anna Gables, I cannot put that there because I feel like that's just a given for me, and everybody knows how much I love it. Besides, it's a reread. It's like my 500th time rereading these books. So the only time a reread will count is if, 1, I never actually read it, but I counted it as it read. 2, I did read some of it, but I quit. And 3, I read it, didn't like it, but now my mind's changed and it's in the running. All these have to be in the running. Anyways, so my most favorite book, it was between The Darkest Mind and Her Fearful Symmetry. And here's where I chose. One of these books was pretty predictable in the way things happen, and you could pretty much see it coming, whereas in the other one, I couldn't really see it coming. And it was really a fresh type of story for me, and I really liked the way it went, and the way it just blew my mind. So my most liked book of this month is Her Fearful Symmetry by Audrey Neffenegger. Everything about this book was really good. Like I said, I did have some issues, but overall it was just yes, you know, Audrey Neffenegger, another win for her. So that was what I read this month and my most liked and least liked book of the month. Tell me down below what you read this month, or if you read any of these books, do you agree with me or disagree, and why? Thank you so much for watching. If you liked what you saw, don't forget to like, comment, sub if you haven't already. And again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.